Welcome back to Trail Tales. If you're into hiking or enjoy the great outdoors, then this video is for you. With this channel, we seek to inspire you by bringing you along on epic hikes we've discovered throughout our travels. In this video, I'm going to show you one of my favourite hikes. It's truly remarkable just how much you can see on one walk in the woods. This time we're in eastern Germany, in Saxon Switzerland National Park. The park spills over the border into Czechia, where it becomes Bohemian Switzerland National Park. In total, the two parks amount to 180 square kilometers of wonderful woodland, over 900 named mountains, and extraordinary sandstone formations. Probably one of the most iconic sights of the German side is the Bastion Bridge, or Basteibrücke in German, which has been drawing crowds of tourists for some 200 years. Originally made of wood, it was replaced by a sandstone construction in 1851 and still stands strong today. Quite why the parks are named after Switzerland is beyond me. I've never found any explanation, nor have I seen anything in Switzerland that resembles this landscape, but there you go. We were hoping that the weather forecast was accurate and that the rain would soon clear up. We started our hike at the main Bastion Bridge tourist centre on a rainy May morning. The signs aren't all that clear, and they're all in German, so expect to get a little lost in one of the many restaurants and gift shops that stand in the way of the scenery. There's no entrance fee to get into the park, although you will need to shell out a few euros for parking. While the bridge itself is free, there is also an additional metal bridge that gets you closer to the rock formations and affords you a nicer view for just €2.50. There are many neat views out over the Elbe Valley, and you can see why this whole region's landscape is so special. It's made up of these oddly shaped hills and jagged rock towers. Eons ago this was all underwater, part of the Baltic Sea, and so sandstone built up. Once the water subsided, this soft rock was etched and eroded away by rivers and rain over countless more millennia, leaving what we see today. Our planned hike was a 14.2 kilometer loop trail with almost 700 meters of elevation gain, a moderate challenge that we were excited to take on. The trail took us through lush forests and verdant valleys, through caves and gorges, and through some quaint German hamlets. The first such hamlet we came to was Kurortraten, which was as pretty as it was sleepy. Filled with cottages and family-run hotels, it has an almost surreal fairy tale feel to it. We could appreciate it all the more since the rain had stopped. Keeping an eye on the map, we turned off the main street, up a gravel path into a forest, and since we'd descended quite some distance down to the valley floor, we had only one way to go, back up. We were completely alone. It was clear that no one had been here for some time. There were even spiderwebs crossing the path that needed clearing. The next nice surprise we stumbled upon was Gamrig. It wasn't mentioned on the Alltrails route we'd picked, but the wooden signs were encouraging us to explore it, and I'm very glad we did. Twisting and turning up a short, steep pathway, we were suddenly thrust out of the forest and onto a rocky outcrop overlooking the Elbe Valley, the Bastion rocks where we had come from, and we could almost see down the valley to our campsite in Königstein. The view was arguably better than from the bridge, since we were alone, and we felt all the luckier for having experienced it spontaneously. To compound our delight, the sun came out and warmed us up. Back on the trail, we began to descend again, deeper and deeper into a valley. At least it felt like that, since the walls were rising higher and higher above us. Only scant shards of sunlight, birdsong, and gentle flowing of the river penetrated the dense canopy of the forest. That and the sound of our jaws dropping at the sight of the stunning scenery.
When we started the hike, it was raining. It was grey and dark, and we were all covered up in our waterproofs, head to toe. But now, as you can see, the sun's out, the weather is glorious, and we are at the bottom of a very steep valley.
So we are just over halfway, which is exciting, and we have been probably for about 3 kilometers walking through the valley. As you can kind of see, there's like a very straight section here along a little river, and we have probably half a kilometer left, and then we're going to start our ascent back up. So should be exhausting. I'm excited.
Our time on the valley floor was at an end, and our ascent started with a steep staircase lined with logs. Soon enough we were thrust back out of the forest, overlooking the valley we had just climbed up from. The panoramic views quickly changed, and we found ourselves climbing a steep metal staircase through the wolf's throat, or Wolfsschlucht in German.
It's a bit of a squeeze.
The camera really doesn't show how narrow this section was. Neither does it show how steep the stairs were or how deep we were inside the rock.
This is so fun!
Yeah. Don't really think I'm showing quite how narrow it is or how steep it is, but it's very both.
Looking up was disorientating, and I found myself really needing to hold onto the railing not to lose my balance. Nothing we'd read about the hike prepared us for this part, and it was a welcome surprise to break up the forest and the valley floor that we'd become so acquainted with over the past couple of hours. Almost as soon as it had sprung itself upon us, we were out of the wolf's throat and back into the more peaceful forest. Being the curious explorers that we are, we decided to check out a mysterious path we'd found. It wasn't part of our route, nor was it signposted, but it looked well worn enough for there to be something of note at the end. We walked a few hundred meters along the path, with grass so deep our feet and ankles disappeared into it. After a few short minutes though, we were thrust out onto a huge slab of rock, split in two by a tree, offering an unbelievable view of the valley we'd just walked down. High above the canopy, there must have been a couple of 100 meters drop below us. We couldn't help but stop, sit and marvel at the stupendous sight before our eyes.
Lots and lots of stairs.
Yep.
And more in sight. Guess this is our life now.
Yep.
One last big reveal and we're nearly at the finish line. Wow. 16 kilometers and 6.5 hours later, we made it to the finish line.
We don't look too bad, considering. But we made it.
There's a lot of steps. The weather, we were lucky. Like, it was perfect. Like, it was a bit cold in the morning, a bit cold and wet, but when the sun came out, it was never too hot. We're shaded most of the way, so we're not getting burnt. And there's a very refreshing breeze along the way.
Yeah. My feet definitely hurt though.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was worth it.
100%.
As I mentioned, this is one of my favourite hikes, partly for the sheer variety of things we saw along the way, but also because it was simply so beautiful. We completed a total of 17.4 kilometres, climbed a total of 802 metres. It took us about 6 hours and 45 minutes from start to finish. I'm rating this hike moderate, as 17 kilometres can be quite long, and there was a significant elevation gain throughout. The national park has hikes for all levels, and the landscape is truly something special, so I highly recommend visiting Saxon Switzerland. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and let me know in the comments what you thought. If you have suggestions for other hikes in the area, please share with everyone. And if you think you'd like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing.